You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing a former MLB baseball player, Kip Gross. How are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in playing in professional baseball?
My interest basically, I really didn't, I went to a few games when I was a kid, like a couple of AAA games and what have you. But for the most part, I just always wanted to play at the next level. When I was like 7 years old, I wanted to play at the 8 year level. When I was nine, I wanted to play 10 and just so on and so forth. And so when I finished up with Legion Ball, because I didn't play high school baseball, I just wanted to give it a shot. So I went and walked on the University of Nebraska and, uh, but I eventually redshirted there. Then I went to another school for the next year. Then I went back to Nebraska, and I actually got drafted out of junior college by the Cardinals. But I didn't. I wanted to sign, but it was kind of a catch-22. I wanted to sign, but I didn't because I also wanted to play a year at Nebraska, my home state. So that's how it all started.
What was that experience like for you walking on to Nebraska and getting to play in your home state?
It was just something. I grew up in western Nebraska, in Gearing, Nebraska, which is completely different from eastern Nebraska, where Lincoln and Omaha are. And everybody thinks of Nebraska right away. They think of the University of Nebraska and football and basketball and the volleyball and all that going on there. But western Nebraska is a long, long ways a different world out there. But I just wanted to try to play. That's all it was, and to be able to get to play for my home state was really cool. Being able to wear that Nebraska jersey, I swear, first time I saw it in my locker, I was like, wow, it was really really cool. So it was a lot of fun.
Of course, for you, what was that feeling like putting on that Nebraska jersey, being from Nebraska and walking on?
Well, that's like I'm trying to say. The whole thing was I could have signed the year before with the Cardinals, but in my heart, I just always wanted to go play at Nebraska. I wanted to be a Cornhusker. I never really knew much about the team, and in fact, it was really strange about the whole thing. If I'd have did my homework, I probably wouldn't have walked on at Nebraska because at the time they were a top 10 team in the country. And myself, here I am from Gearing, Nebraska, little small town out there, and I didn't even get a look from any colleges, anything. Nobody even came up to me and said anything about anything. Uh, so it was kind of if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have went to a community college or something where I could think and maybe I could make a team. But I obviously had a little talent, and the coach there, John Sanders, and eventually Mike Evans, who was a pitching coach, believed in me, and I did. It all started from there.
Of course, in 1986, what was that experience like getting drafted into the MLB and going to the New York Mets?
Well, I kind of had an idea that I was going to get drafted. I was in contact with Marty Harvat from the Mets. He was a Mets scout, and I was in contact with him a lot. He'd call me like at least once a week during the season and see how I was doing, and telling me that he's been watching me and covering me and making sure everything's going well with me. So on draft day, I got the call. I got the call from Marty, and he said, "Hey, we got you in the fourth round, and congratulations." And what's another funny story about it was I'd already committed to go play up in the Alaskan League, uh, in Alaska, and that was a really really good league. And the year before, I'd played in the Cape Cod League, which I didn't have any fun out there at all because it was kind of a mess with the team I was playing on, the people I was staying with, and so I really wanted to go play up in Alaska with Anchorage, the pilots. And so I pretty much I think Marty knew what I was doing. I was just holding out basically for more money and being able to play for the pilots up there. And we eventually won the league, and we eventually won the national championship in Wichita. So it was all well worth it. That night, I called Marty after we won the championship and said, "Hey, I'm ready to sign." So next morning, uh, met somewhere, can't remember where it was, and I went and signed the dotted line, and I became a Met at that time.
Of course, what was that feeling like signing that dotted line and becoming a professional athlete for the first time?
It was for me. It wasn't much to it because I knew I was going to do it eventually after when I went to junior college. Every time I pitched in junior college, the stands were full of scouts. Every time we always played double headers, and I pitched the first game of the doubleheader. And after I actually kind of felt sorry for the players on my team because after I finished or come out of the game, the scouts would get up and they'd leave. And so for the second game, there really wasn't any fans in the stands, and there definitely wasn't any scouts. But it was just one of those things where you're kind of geared up to it. You knew things were going to happen. Actually, my aunt was there and two cousins, and because they lived in Wichita, and they actually took me down to meet Marty, the scout from the Mets, and I signed, and it was a good thing, and I couldn't wait to get on the field again and start my pro career.
Of course, for you, what was that feeling like making your first major debut with the Cincinnati Reds?
Another great story. It was we were playing the Atlanta Braves at home in Cincinnati at Riverfront, and I'm out there warming up, doing everything you normally do, and I'm sitting in the dugout, and next thing you know, it starts raining, and they called the game. The first game I was at, they actually called the game, and I just sat out in the dugout for I don't know how long I sat out there. I'm just like, wow, where am I at? Where am I at? This is pretty cool. I'm in the dugout of a Major League Baseball team, in the big leagues. And so that was kind of a surreal thing to see that or have that happen to me. But the next day, uh, we were playing him again, obviously. And in the ninth inning, Lou Piniella got me up and put me in the game. And I'll never forget, I faced Dale Murphy for my first hitter, who I believe should be in the Hall of Fame. And the first pitch I threw was right. I mean, I couldn't have put it more in the middle of the batter's box or the strike zone. I couldn't have thrown more perfect down the middle, just trying to get ahead. And the umpire just goes, ball one. And I said, here it goes. The rookie's going to get the treatment. So the next pitch I threw up and in. It wasn't really close to strike. The next pitch was low and away, wasn't even close to a strike. And then I got the 3-0 count. I threw a pitch, another one right down the middle, strike one. I said, screw it. I threw another fastball down the middle to the next one. It was a couple hopper to Barry Larkin over to Hal Morris for out number one. That was my first, my debut in the big leagues. And what was really cool about that was as my rookie year, obviously, my first game ever, I get up 1, 2, 3, and after the game, whoever finishes the game always goes and shakes the catcher's hand. So Joe Oliver comes up and we shake hands, and you kind of, congratulate everybody like you normally do. And after the season, because we did win the World Series, they came out with a video of the whole season, and the whole video starts off me shaking Joe Oliver's hand after that game because we started the season 9-0, which had never been done in Cincinnati history. And of course, you know about the wire to wire and the sweep. So uh, it was really cool, really cool.
Of course, what was that season like leading up to the World Series and going to the World Series?
Well, that year I was up and down with them, back and forth. They needed an extra catcher, they needed a pitcher, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. How it happens when you're basically the 26 man on a 25-man roster, and so. But the games I was there and on the road with these guys, it was just one of those teams. I'll be dead honest with you. When I got traded to the Met or traded to the Reds from the Mets with Randy Myers, I actually had to look up who was on the pitching staff. I didn't know because at that time Cincinnati really wasn't that team, right? And so, but to get to meet these guys like Barry Larkin, Tom Browning, Joe Oliver. I mean, the list goes on. Eric Davis, my God, by far the best baseball player I ever played with. It's not even close how much better he was than everybody else on the field when he was healthy. But to come in after a win, and they play the Run DMC song, "Can't Touch This," every time, and the clubhouse was rocking. The team was just one of those teams that got along and gelled really, really well. And there wasn't, you say the talent wise, you had the Barry Larkin, who eventually became a Hall of Famer. Eric Davis is a superstar by far, but for the most part, you really don't remember those names of those players on that team if you really think about it. They weren't big names, right? Household names. Being from Cincinnati, but it was really cool. And then obviously wire to wire. It was never out of first place, and then swept the A's, which nobody thought was going to happen because the A's at that time were really kind of a dynasty, with the pitching staff and the Bash brothers and all that. So it was really cool, really cool.
Of course, leading into the season of 1990, when you went to the World Series, what was that like preparing for the World Series to face the A's?
Well, it's just you just go about your same business. It's you got to prepare like you've always prepared. You don't really do anything extraordinary. You just do what you do, and you know how to get ready. Just like when you go to spring training, the veterans, they get ready on their own. They're not forced into pitching so many innings, or they'll go throw on a minor league game and just get their work in because they've just got to build up to get to that point where they're ready for the season. So but for World Series or playoffs or anything, you just go about your business and hopefully you get some good night's sleep and you wake up next morning refreshed and ready to rock and roll.
For you as a player going into that World Series game, what was that preparation like, and what was some of the feelings you were feeling?
Well, it's just you're on top of the world. Everybody is geared up in something that nobody else is doing right now. All the other baseball teams are home, watching you on TV, and so it's just a really cool moment to know. It's like Monday Night Football or the Super Bowl. You're it. The world's watching, and that's kind of how it is. But you got to put yourself in the right mindset in any championship and just go out there and hopefully lose that in your mind and just be able to concentrate on what you've been concentrating on your whole life for.
After getting that win in the World Series and getting to hoist up that trophy, what was that feeling like knowing your hard work paid off?
Well, every season you play, you put in your hard work. Hopefully, you're going to do something well. I was just talking to a player yesterday about championships, and championships are hard to come by. I played 16 years professionally, and I played Legion ball. I played college. I played in summer teams, and I was fortunate enough to win some championships. I won a state title in my Legion ball for Nebraska. Then I get to that summer ball up in Alaska. We won a championship up there. Then my second year in professional baseball, 1988, with St. Lucie Mets, with Clint Hurdle was he was a first year manager. We won a championship there, and then I eventually, after winning the World Series, I won another AAA championship with the Albuquerque Dukes when I was with LA. So in so many years, it's a blessing to be able to win like I did and be part of winning teams. So it's you're always elated. Everything's done with. Your body just kind of gives up at the end. It's like, whew, I'm done now. Let's go have some fun and enjoy it for a little bit because we got to get after it and start all over again.
Of course, for you, after winning that game, what was it like receiving the hardware and putting the ring on, knowing that all of your hard work paid off?
Well, that's the thing. You're working for not only a ring, you're just working for you. You know that you did all this, and you put in the hard work. Your teammates put in the hard work, and you all came together, and it worked. The season went really great. Not many seasons have ever happened like that. So it's and then it puts everybody on the map right away. Everybody knew who Eric Davis was, but they didn't really get to see him, and he almost died in the championship because he ruptured his spleen on the field diving for a ball. But to see these guys and to be a part of it is it's really really special.
What does it mean to you to be a World Series champ?
Well, not many people can say it. Right to this day, there's only like 20,000 people that ever played Major League Baseball. So then if you deduct all the guys that never did win a championship, I don't, that's probably a really good trivia question to see how many guys actually were a part of a World Series team. And that number's got to be really, really small. So it's just like I said, it's something you work for. And when it happens, it happens. And it's like you look back on it now and say, whoa, I helped win a championship in Cincinnati.
Of course, after leaving Cincinnati, what was that experience like going to the Los Angeles Dodgers?
It was kind of I didn't really want to leave Cincinnati. I fell in love with Lou Piniella and how he managed games and how he was as a person on the field, off the field. And so it was kind of hard for me to go over there. Not that I didn't want to. I mean, I was glad. I mean, now I'm going to go out to the spotlight in LA, and and be around all these Dodger fans are everywhere. I mean, they're all over the place. I don't care what state you're in. Somebody's wearing an LA hat somewhere, and so it was kind of a catch-22 with me for that because I get over there and Tommy and I didn't get along very well. We really didn't. And there was a few reasons. I had longer hair and he didn't like the longer hair. But I had the longer hair because I could sweat on my neck back here, so I could kind of load up once in a while for my sinker when it wasn't really sinking. I could put a little extra sweat on that ball to make it happen. So but yeah, Tommy was Tommy. He's always was Tommy. He was an ambassador, as they always said, for baseball, which is really good. But I go from Cincinnati, where there's a Tom Browning, Danny Jackson, Armstrong. The pitching staff wasn't really known. But then as soon as you get traded to the Dodgers, well, what's the Dodgers always been known for? Pitching. And so then I'm thinking, oh geez, now I got to go out and compete against Oral Hershiser and Kevin Gross and all these Bobby Ojeda, some really good pitchers. And it was good. I mean, I knew I belonged. I knew I belonged. It was just one of the reasons I didn't stay there all the time was because it was me and Tommy and I just didn't get along very well. I didn't put up with what he told me and wanted me to do all the time because I'm a big league pitcher and I can be ready and do the things I need to do, just like you treat the 10-year veteran over here. But it was good though. I really, really enjoyed it out there. I did. Uh, I ended up living in California for 26 years after being there. So, Dodgers is Dodgers, though. I mean, they're still the Dodgers. They're always going to be the Dodgers, and they're just a huge name in baseball. So it was good fun out there. But I got to be teammates with a lot of really great players.
Of course, what was that like getting to represent a notable franchise like the Dodgers?
Well, it's that's what I'm trying to say right now. It was awesome because everybody is I should say everybody, but they're just one of the biggest names. They're like the Yankees, so big of a following that they're everywhere. I mean, I don't care, like I said, what state you go to, you're going to see Dodger fans. You're going to see hats. I mean, I live really close to. Well, I'm in right next to Scottsdale, so there's just during this time, spring training time, you just see so much gear from the Dodgers everywhere now that they're out there and not in Vero Beach in Florida. So uh, it was fun. It was really fun. Had a great time. Roger McDowell got moved over there from the Mets at that time, and he kind of took me under his wing a little bit and showed me the ropes and here and there. And so it was a good learning experience. But then again, it was they were some of the players actually learned a few things from me because when you go from team to team, uh, guys kind of pick up on what you do, different pitches you throw, how you throw them, and how you pitch. And so it's always a good learning experience. But it was so much fun.
Of course, for you, what was it like going to the Boston Red Sox and getting to play with them?
Well, that's when I came back from Japan. I'd lived over there for 5 years, during the season, and I had a chance to come back here and sign a 2-year deal with Boston, and it was kind of different. I when I was playing amateur baseball, we always played with the DH rule in amateur ball, and then once I signed my first contract, minor league contract with the Mets, we went right to National League Baseball. And so I was like, my God, this is a completely different game here because I'd never played National League rules before. And I really liked it. I really, really liked it playing in the National League. And so to go over to Boston, it was kind of going back to amateur baseball for me. I'm not saying amateur in that sense. I'm saying it because of the rules and how it is. So uh, I mean, I had Pedro Martinez on the team. I already knew him from the Mets. There was a few other guys I knew, Real Cormier. We had the same agent, so we started hanging out right away. And Tim Wakefield, God rest his soul, just passed away recently, and his wife. Uh, it was, just a different experience. You see different people from different walks of life, different teams, different cultures, just everything different. So it's kind of weird when you go to a different team like that because another really, really well-known team is the Boston Red Sox. And so, you're on some of these teams that are like that. And so people expect so much out of you. But, it just, again, it was just really good people, really good teammates. And it was good fun out there. Got to enjoy it a lot.
Of course, for you as a player, what was it like getting to play with historical franchise like the Reds, Dodgers, and even Boston Red Sox?
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to be alluding to right there was, you get to play for these teams, teams that are historically, wow. Everybody just looks and says, geez, you played for the Dodgers, you played for the Red Sox, you played for the Mets. It's just how it is. You get lucky enough that somebody wants you, and so you get to go over and show your talents and play ball and give it your all. So you looking, like you're saying, looking back on it, it's like, yeah, it was, you played for some pretty good teams out there.
How is it like getting to meet your fans and having them ask for your autographs and photos with you?
It's when you're playing, that there's always autograph seekers out there. You go to the hotel, they're around the corner. Some of them send kids to get them signed. I always gave autographs. I never had a problem doing it. Some guys didn't like doing it. Some people despise doing it and did not do it, period. Some always said, I'm not giving my autograph to them because they're just going to sell it. To me, it's like, they're going to sell my autograph for $1, more power to you. So there's a kid in front of you and he's asking you, Kip, Mr. Gross, can you get your autograph? And I'd always say, just call me Kip. And, I'd be more than happy to. I'd always talk to him maybe a little bit for a couple sentences and move on to the next one. But, to this day, I still get a lot of envelopes in the mail, letters in the mail, with my baseball cards in it to sign. And it just goes to show you how many baseball fans are out there. And it's a fun thing to do, and to be able to see these different cards and that people actually want a piece of you. So it's actually an honor.
What is it like getting to see how baseball has changed from when you were playing to now in the MLB?
Well, this could be a long subject. I'm not a fan of the game today. I mean, point blank. All these rules that the commissioner came in and changed on the field. I don't understand why they had to do it. The pitch, the clock out there. You've always had a rule that you had to throw the ball within so much time, but the problem was that the hitters weren't going by that rule, and the other problem was that the umpires didn't enforce it. All they had to do was say, "Mr. Hitter, get in the box," and if they don't get in the box, call strike one. But they wouldn't do that, because the game has gotten so big where these superstars are making so much money that they're just going to get an argument with the umpire, and next thing you know, all hell breaks loose, and so that happens. So they come in and put the pitch clock in. Yeah, it's sped up the game, but I also think it's hurting pitchers' arms too. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. This year, you saw. I called it last year. I said, watch July what happens. Let's just wait till July. And what happened in July and August? You had some top starters that normally never ever get injured do get injured. I just saw a number. I think today. I think the top five paid pitchers right now, starters in Major League Baseball, are all hurt right now, and they won't even be available for opening day. Then you have the bigger bases now. You can't throw over but 2 times. If you don't get him the second time, he gets his base. I just ball four. It used to, you had to throw the ball 4 times to walk a guy intentionally. Now it's like little league. Just go to first base. I've always called them the grande ligas where big leagues. You should have to do things. You should have to do these things because you're some of the best people in the world doing what you're doing. And to be able to change these rules, and now the hitters are all trying to hit home runs instead of get on base. I mean, or instead of hitting singles and driving people in. I'm just not a big fan of it. I'd rather see the Tony Gwynns of the world all over again. And I would take a lineup of Tony Gwynns over some of these guys today in a heartbeat, because it's true baseball. You've got to put the ball in play, and you don't need home runs to win games. And the funny thing about all these different swinging philosophies and doing all this is, you got all these gurus out there, the analytic people. There's no more runs scored today than there ever was. It's still the way it was, a few years back. So all these things that they're talking about and trying to speed up the game and produce more runs, it's not happening. So if I was a hitter or a manager or a GM or a scout, I would still go for that guy that knows how to play the game and can fundamentally bring runners instead of trying to wait for the 3-run home run all the time.
What was that transition like for you from going from being a professional baseball player to getting into a GM role?
Well, I was never a GM, but I did manage a team up in Victoria, British Columbia, an independent team one year, and I basically was the GM. Yeah, we had a GM, but my role was just, oh my God, to be a manager of an independent team. People, if you ever get the idea to do it, make sure you're ready for it, because I got kind of thrown into it, and I was basically the GM. I was basically the hitting coach, the pitching coach, the manager. I mean, it was everything. I mean, I had to hand out meal money. I was the traveling secretary. I had to do everything, and it was a tough gig, but it made me a better person, and I'm glad I did it. But to do it again, it would take an awful lot to get me back in that role.
Of course, for you, what is that like getting to see fans represent you and wearing your baseball jersey?
It's funny you just say that. I just my girlfriend's brother just came to town this last week, and he gets off the plane and he's wearing my Dodger uniform, and oh my goodness, what's this all about? It was cool to see. There's people out there that actually look up or want a piece of you again, as I say, and old Nick, it was good, and end up being a great guy, and wow, we had some good conversations this last week. So, but it is cool to see that that people actually looked up to you, or they're your fan, basically. It's fun.
Of course, besides the World Series, what were some of your favorite memories and moments?
This is I've told this story quite a few times to people. I just told a player the other day. In 1988, it was my second year in professional baseball. The first year, I was doing really well. We were in Lynchburg, Virginia, my first year, and something happened to my elbow. They just couldn't figure it out. They could not figure it out. And so I sat out. And finally, they get it back to where I can pitch again. And then I get hit by a line drive in Prince William when playing the Yankees. Got hit right in the zygoma here, and it shattered my whole face. And I had to they actually had to come on the field with an ambulance and cart me away and take me to the hospital. And they had to do reconstructive surgery. So my first year was kind of lost. And then the next year, where the story really goes here, is in 1988, when Clint Hurdle came aboard and became a first year manager. I was pretty much dominating the league as far as pitching, and it was it's one of those times when you're probably going to get moved up to the next level. In your heart you're doing so well, and so that season I went into Clint Hurdle's office. When I was really doing well, and I said, "Hey, Clint, I don't know what they're going to do here with me. I'm sure there's a chance they could move me up to Double A." I said, if this happens, I said, could you please let them know that I'd like to stay here because I want to win a championship? And he looked at me like, all cross-eyed and like, whoa, you don't want to be moved up? I said, no, I want to stay, because I know you can't win many championships in your career. You just don't do it. And so I went in the first half, and I went in the second half and said the same thing. And I never did get promoted. And guess what happened? We won the championship. And so it was so well worth it, at the end of the season in A-ball. It was A-ball, but still you won a championship, pitched the championship game. And it was just one of those things where you put everything into what you have. And the year before it was kind of disappointing with the injury and then getting knocked out with the fractured zygoma over here. So it was so worth it. And I just look back at that as one of my favorite moments in baseball.
Since retiring, what have been some of the things you've been able to accomplish, and what are some of your future plans and goals?
Well, having two kids, was the biggest thing for me. My son still lives with me in Arizona, and we do a lot. He loves sports. He loves baseball. In fact, he could have went and played college baseball at several schools for scholarships, but he was just one of those kids that didn't like school, and he doesn't like school, and he can't blame somebody. So he's doing other things now. For myself, I always coach my kids since they were 8 years old. Coached my son all the way through his senior season, and we actually won a state championship in high school baseball. We in the CIF out here in California. And another thing, just one of the hardest things doing sports is win a high school championship. And so that was a lot of fun for a lot of years. Plus, I give lessons. I get a lot of texts and videos sent to me from all over the place. Because I always tell people, I'll help you with whatever. If I can help your son, I'll help your son. If I can help you, whoever, I'll help them. And so I've given a lot of private lessons, and basically just stay in the game in that capacity, and just try to help the best I can with advice.
What advice would you give those people in college that are looking to get drafted and play in the MLB?
Sign as quick as you can. sign that dotted line ASAP. Nothing against college coaching. It's not close to even being what you can get when you sign a contract. The people and the coaching and the instructors in professional baseball are so much more knowledgeable than in college. It's crazy. I mean, I've told the story when I left college baseball to go play with the Mets in the minor leagues. I came out of college and I thought I knew everything. I thought I know everything. This is baseball. I know everything. First year I find out I didn't know anything. I basically didn't know the game of baseball. And so after my first couple years playing in A ball, I get moved to Double A. I'm like, okay, here I am. I know everything again. And I go to Double A and I find out once again I didn't know anything. And so it just kept like that all the way up the ladder, all the way to the big leagues. You just kept learning and learning the more fundamentals of the game. You know, a lot of people think fundamentals. They think, you got to, catch a ball, be on the base, and, hit the ball. There's so much more to the game than just what the basic stuff you see out there. There's so much going on inside the game. And so being able to learn all that now, try to pass that knowledge on to the players and the kids that I know, that's a lot of satisfaction for myself.
What advice would you give those rookies entering their first year of Major League Baseball?
First year Major League Baseball. It's not so hard to get there. It's staying there that's the issue. So work your ass off. Keep working your ass off. Ask questions. Go to your veterans and keep asking more and more questions, because the more knowledge you have, that might help you get by another game or another inning, another pitch, whatever. When I first got with the Reds, Ken Griffey Sr. was on the team, believe it or not. Yeah, that's how long ago it's been. And I used to go to Senior all the time, and Junior was just drafted the year before. And I go sit next to Senior, and I just ask him question after question after question. It got to the point where he would actually he'd get up and he'd put his hand on my leg and say, "Gross, you stay right here. I'm going to go to the end of the dugout for a while." And so, but it was, that's how you learn. You learn from veterans. I mean, the guy played 22 years in the big leagues, and obviously he taught his son how to play the game, and he'd end up being a Hall of Famer. So I was going the right guy. It was good. So go to people and learn the game from the veterans.
What advice would you give those players transitioning from playing to life after baseball?
That's a tough one. I didn't have any problem with it because I just wasn't any good anymore. I mean, I still had GMs calling me after the 2001 season that I retired on, and they say, "Hey, we'd like to sign you to a 2-year deal, sign you to a 1-year deal, whatever." And I'd ask them, I'd like, "Are you really seeing me on the mound, or are you seeing somebody else? Because I'm really not good anymore." But I was always that guy in the clubhouse and in the dugout who would go sit next to a younger player after he just had a hard time on the mound, and I'd sit and just kind of discuss the game with them and show them that, hey, this happens. You're gonna get your balls knocked off once in a while, and that's I was good for that. And like I always told people, I didn't stick around for 16 years because I wasn't a good person. My only goal every year in baseball, believe it or not, was I wanted to be the best teammate I could be. And I never put goals on myself, like how many wins, RAs. God, I never did that. I just did what I do, and for the other players and the teammates, and so I did that.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media?
You can go to kipgross.com, or you can go to I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram also. I think it's Kip L Gross on Instagram, and just Kip Gross on Facebook. But yeah, I have my own podcast later on today, and kipgross.com is where people go and to find me.
Thank you again, Kip Gross, for your interview, and best luck in your future wherever it may hold you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Brandon Sports Talk, at Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Kip Gross, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
You too. Have a great day, everybody.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.